Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode
You
2.
are muted there, Gary. Bing, bang, boom.
Hey, can we hear me now?
Yeah, I can
can't hear you. Is that me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Well, we're gonna go back and start again. But hey, everybody, welcome to LinkedIn Live. It's episode number 2 of Keeping the Pace with NetRise, and today I am super happy to be joined by our crack product team. Colin Lernahan and Ishan Sethi are joining me today to do an innovations insight. And gentlemen, I really appreciate you joining us today. To kick off the conversation, I would just want to ask a question. When you buy a new device, a new switch, a router, a firewall, or a new piece of software, what's your expectation about how many vulnerabilities should you expect to find in it? And why is the only correct answer to that question 0?
I still can't hear any audio after we went live, unfortunately.
All right,
It
Ishan,
was
can you
working
hear us?
before, and as soon as we went live,
Yeah,
it
I can
stopped.
hear.
All the audio stopped on your side.
All right, Ishan, can you
Ishan,
answer
maybe
that
you want to
question
jump
for
in?
me?
If you
Yeah, I
have
can just jump in for
Gary.
that. Well, Colin troubleshoots that, but I mean, really, you expect that a new device that you buy has 0. That's the expectation from a business, trust, and risk perspective. No one really goes out and buys a device that expecting to have like CVEs, secrets, or inherent risk with that purchase. But the sad reality is that it's never 0. This is not because teams are careless, but it's because modern software is assembled from like massive third-party supply chains, vulnerabilities, and all these things are discovered after the release of the product. And I feel like most tools really stop at counting the issues instead of understanding the exposure that comes with them. So the real problem isn't that vulnerabilities exist, it's that we haven't been really able to clearly define them and really answer the ones that matter.
That's really interesting, Ishan, and it's not just vulnerabilities, right? It's there's a lot of other things that go along with those, in the devices, and the way we track that is through the famous SBOM, or the software bill of materials. Can you describe that, and for people that are unfamiliar with the concept, and tell us why it's important?
Yeah, I like to think of an SBOM as kind of like an ingredient list. So SBOM in itself stands for software bill of materials. It essentially is like an ingredient list except for software. It tells you, what components, libraries, and dependencies make up an application. This can include open source and third-party code. And it's really important because you can't secure what you don't know. So if you don't really know what's making up your software, you can't go in and actually secure this. Without an SBOM, vulnerabilities, license issues, hidden dependencies all live below the surface, completely unknown to security teams. So this SBOM gives you the transparency that you didn't really have before, and lets you understand like the foundation of risk that lies within your software. Colin, can you hear us now?
I can't hear you now.
Cool,
Yeah. After we went live, my audio, it was assigned to my speakers, and then I had to change something again. I don't know. Some weird technical difficulties, but we're good. We're live. Appreciate it.
Glad we're back. Glad you're in with us. So, so it's interesting, Ishan, what you spoke about in an SBOM. It's kind of like your nutrition label for your software, isn't it? And NetRise, we claim that we find so much more, right, when we analyze devices and application software than other tools like vulnerability management tools. Why is that so? Help me understand, the difference, so that our viewers understand what's different about NetRise.
Sure. Yeah. Colin, I could take this one, and then maybe if you want to add.
Yep. Sounds good to me.
I'd say like one of the reasons why NetRise finds so much more than your like traditional vulnerability scan tool is because we analyze software at a much deeper level. I feel like most tools kind of look at the surface, running services, known packages, or declared components. But NetRise looks at the software itself, like we were talking about the SBOM. We're looking at across firmware, binaries, and dependencies to really understand what's embedded and inherited through the supply chain. And I feel like that visibility in itself uncovers more findings than your traditional tool.
Well, the supply chain is a really interesting concept there. Help me understand, what we mean by the supply chain, right? Because software is software. If I'm writing an application, I'm writing the application, right?
You have upstream and downstream dependencies that you may not actually know about. So let's say there maybe was a bad actor on an open source component, and that component was used to actually compile a piece of code that you're running. If you didn't actually have the SBOM and you didn't know the version and all the components that you were leveraging, you wouldn't be able to find these upstream and downstream dependencies, and you wouldn't be able to identify if you have an impact due to a bad actor who may have breached a widely used open source project. Obviously, we all think of Geotan and XE as a great use case for that.
So, when you talk about upstream and downstream dependencies, do the sort of legacy SCA tools that focus on uh, that work in the IDEs and the developers environment, do they look far enough into those dependencies? Do they capture everything?
No, I don't think they don't have the same visibility that we have as far as the entire SBOM itself and all of the upstream and downstream dependencies. They do have visibility in what they're looking at, but it's as good as the data that they have as well. Which obviously I think you're privy. We're working on enhancing these capabilities for ourselves and giving our customers even greater depth of purview into their supply chain in the coming year of 2026.
Right. And of course, risk in software is not limited to vulnerabilities or CVEs, right? There's lots of other things. And I would assume that those who are generating SBOMs from source code aren't going to see those other artifacts. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
So what's the difference? What else, what else is there? What's missing?
Ishan, do you want to jump in here?
Sure, yeah. I mean, like you said, it's not just CVEs and vulnerabilities. When you look at like a product, there's secrets involved, there's license issues, there's like so many other layers that come with having a product out and customers using that. And it's really important that we are aware of these different issues before it becomes a problem. And one thing like to note is that with like these tools, all these different vulnerabilities, all these different issues that come up, like I feel like although it is a bit overwhelming, I think that it is important for customers to understand these before it turns into a larger issue.
Yeah, and we've kind of all seen what happens when it becomes a larger issue, right? Here's a really quick video that gives us a look, and trigger warning if you lived through this 4 years ago. Do you remember waking up to the news that one of the most popular open source libraries had a critical zero-day vulnerability? CISOs, third-party risk managers, and SOC analysts raced to find their exposure, querying exhausted vendors. Many took months to find their exposure. With NetRise, you can discover in minutes not only whether a sensitive device is exposed, but also all of the other devices in your asset inventory, all in the time it's taking you to watch this video. Would you have slept better when Log4j shook the cybersecurity world if you'd known immediately where and how to mitigate that risk? Want to sleep better next time? So, gents, what's NetRise doing to give people a better night's sleep next time?
Well, I can actually maybe pop in here. So we recently released a couple different pieces of functionality that really enhance triage and the ability to cut through the vulnerabilities that you have in front of you. One of which is a reachability analysis. So essentially what reachability analysis is it looks at the actual code that's executing and then understanding the CVEs that are attached to the actual executing code. So there's a whole category of code that may be declared in the binary, but it actually isn't run. So that non-running code is a lot of noise. And really, I mean, everyone in security is aware of this, but triage and dealing with the massive alerts and vulnerabilities and misconfigurations is one of the hardest challenges. So what we've really been focused on doing is delivering some functionality at the end of Q4 and early Q3 to really help our analysts cut through all of that noise and really look at the most actionable, reachable vulnerabilities. And we also have something that Ishan will discuss a bit more, which is looking at the Linux kernel itself and the modules that are actually ran on that, and then automatically reducing that noise. Maybe Ishan, you want to tell us more about that? And sorry, Gary.
I was just going to ask if we could keep that image up there, please. That you make a really interesting point, Colin, about the noise and about. I mean, if I see, I can't read how many vulnerabilities there are at the top, but we're looking at 118 vulnerabilities, and the colors really denote whether they're the severity, right? Are they low, medium, high, or critical severity? And walk us through how an analyst would look at that and then decide, what do I actually need to focus on? Whether we're looking at only those, that are reachable, and what are the elements that allows us to help people prioritize?
If there's some magic show people out there, I think Stephanie, cough, cough. If you could switch over to the other slide, which would be with the toggle of reachability off. We can start with that slide, and that'll actually show us what the entire population of these vulnerabilities look like before. So right here, we see almost 8,000 vulnerabilities. We have a couple of different categories of impactful classifications. We think EPPS percentage greater than 50% is noteworthy and worth looking into. Weaponized, CISA, KEV, and one to the impact category. Now, if you go back to the next slide, let's see what that actually reduced down to. We take 8,000 of this, and we've reduced this down to 118 of unremediated vulnerabilities, and then you can kind of see the categorization breakout of ones that we think are high priority. You've reduced the workload of having to sort through 8,000 vulnerabilities down to 120 that are really impactful, that we actually know are reachable. So that right there will save analysts so much time and so much heartache of having to comb through really non-essential vulnerabilities, ones that may seem like they are high vulnerability or high severity. They may seem like they are highly severe, but in reality, they aren't reachable. So you shouldn't waste your time, burning cycles on them.
I mean, so with one toggle switch, how many hours are we saving people? What's in order of magnitude on that?
So there's some research on this study that came out a couple of years ago, and I think they surveyed 600 IT security professionals, and I think on average, folks are spending for large enterprises something like 4 days out of 5 on triaging and combing through their vulnerabilities. So I can't give you some just like give me number of hours, but yeah, I can't give you a magic number because it's unqualified, but it will save a lot of time going from 8,000 you have to look at to 120, and then you can really identify the most severe out of that population and feel much better about your posture management.
Totally. It's really interesting because I believe it was the Verizon data breach investigation report earlier this year that noted, because everybody tends to focus on the high severity and the critical vulnerabilities, and in the DBIR report, they noted that a lot more attention by people who are looking to exploit them. A lot more time is on the medium vulnerabilities, because the view is we all focus on the highs and the criticals, and so the medium ones get left unremediated for a longer period. But when you're taking it down from thousands to 100, you're giving people a chance to focus really on all, because the way we define reachability is accessible via the network, as well as executing or in a component that executes at startup, correct?
Yes, and it's kind of in the same vein that you see people also analyzing attack paths and things like that, because these are all solving the same issue where you say, how do I prioritize the most needful vulnerabilities out of an ocean of them? You might have 10,000 vulnerabilities, and how do you pick out the needle in the haystack? In various other security products, they're looking at attack paths and they're mapping all of that data together, and they're looking at the vulnerabilities that are in that chinks in that armor. For us, we have all of this reachability data and we have deeper analysis. So we're able to really show you what you should care about on the reachability front. But we're all trying to solve similar issues with allowing customers to look at the most needful items and cut through all of the noise that is out there for vulnerabilities.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks, Colin. And Ishan, you're going to take us through some other ways that we can cut through that noise, correct?
Totally, yeah. So thanks, Colin, for speaking on reachability. Spec, this kind of process happens like in the back end. So there's not like fancy pretty visuals for this, but I could just speak to it. So Spec tackles really one of the biggest pain points that we hear all the time from security analysts. It's really about restoring signal in kernel vulnerability detection. So instead of flagging every kernel CVE based on a version matching alone, Spec verifies which kernel modules are actually present and in use, and maps vulnerabilities only to those exploitable paths. So before, when a required module isn't loaded, it would kind of like create a lot of unnecessary noise. But with Spec, it automatically applies like a VEX compliant, not affected justification, with supporting evidence, of course, eliminating these false positives that previously created all this noise that security analysts would get overwhelmed with, and would require like a lot of manual validation. So the result is a kernel vulnerability signal that reflects real exploitability and not just theoretical exposure. And this allows security teams to focus remediation efforts where it actually matters, not on some false positives. And this effort combined with reachability, like totally just reduces the amount of manual triage that security analysts have to do.
Yeah, this is execution aware. I mean, both these together are execution aware triage. We're looking at, okay, this Linux kernel doesn't have these modules actually in use, and these vulnerabilities are attached to it. It's not actually running. Same thing with what we're talking about with reachability here. So really, we're looking at real world application. We're cutting out all the theoretical noise, which helps analysts obviously focus their time, because that's the most limiting thing is their time. So,
yeah, I mean, I think that's got to be the biggest thing is the burnout factor, right, amongst analysts. And if there's one thing that we can kind of wrap up and say, what's our mission and how do we make their lives better? What would you say it is?
our mission at NetRise is to provide the maximum visibility into your software, so you don't have to blindly trust what you're running out there. So across the organization, all products that we're working on, because we do have a suite of products, all of them are focused on giving greater visibility and giving security practitioners the visibility they need to understand the risks that they're accepting when they're running devices on their networks.
Very cool. And so there's this has been some really it's where do we? It's almost New Year's, right? And it's been a really impactful year in terms of advances, to the product and releases to drive that kind of visibility, and to avoid that blind trust in software. And I know there's a lot coming in the coming year, but I don't suppose we can tease any of that out right now.
Yeah, we will be having a large drop in early Q1 with a lot of exciting new functionality. I won't spoil the surprise there too much, but look for a bunch of new dedicated capabilities around exciting problems, and we're really excited for you guys to see what we've been working on the last couple of quarters and pushing out here soon.
Well, that's awesome. I can't wait for you guys to join me again in our next LinkedIn Live, our next Innovation Insight. There is some really, really cool stuff that's going to, again, it's all about driving that impact that makes the lives easier of those people, of all of us who are really looking to, keep the bad actors out and keep the risk out of our businesses and out of our products.
Yep.
Any last thoughts, gentlemen?
You, Sean?
Just like thank you everyone for joining. I hope that this little live session was informational, and that thank you, Gary, for hosting. Your questions were really good. And yeah.
Yeah, we'd love feedback in the comments. If anyone has any comments or questions for us, we'd love that as well. But definitely appreciate the time. And I know it's a busy day with the holidays coming up, so you guys taking time out of your days just to listen to us speak means a lot. So thank you.
All right, awesome. Well, that's a wrap. And Colin and Ishan, just want to thank both of you for for spending the time sharing with our listeners today. A lot of really, really good stuff has come out of and is going to be coming out of NetRise. And I also want to thank the audience and all of you who've joined us today for really good engagement. Don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out at netrise.io. And we'd love to see you all back here at the next episode of Keeping the Pace with NetRise. And on behalf of my colleagues, wishing everybody here happy holidays and a very, very happy new year.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate it so much. Hope you guys have a great holiday.
Want to learn more about NetRise? Visit us at netrise.io. Follow us on LinkedIn. Subscribe to our YouTube channel or join our mailing list.